Hey team, we're going to go right over ETN. I'm going to show you where I'm going to be exiting my ETN at and where I think the maximum potential for ETN in case you are looking for those highs. So let's get right into it. Okay, team, so I'm going to be using this moments to give you a full breakdown of ETN. We're going to draw it line for line, and I'm going to show you what things I'm seeing, what things I'm really paying attention to on price action. So let's start with the weekly chart. So we're going to start with the weekly chart, and I'm going to show you how I got some of these numbers. And we're going to start with the core lines up here. We're going to draw one right at the core point, and we're going to draw it straight out. And that's going to give us our first main horizontal line, which I call a flat, okay? And then we're going to make that a red, so I know that it's going to be more of a resistance type line. So if we get up to that level, that might be a good target. Now these lines turn invisible when looking at like a daily chart because the cores may be way up here, and you'll wonder, why did price come or hard close right against this point? And this is something to be very aware of, and it's something very easy. You can start adding to your lines right away. You'll want to take these larger time frame charts and start mapping it out. You can also go to a monthly chart and you can do the same thing, but where we see those lines start to overlap become key points. So here we have another line up here, which is the monthly chart, and so this gives us even more reasons on why these lines are really important. So you can make that something like a white, so that you're really paying attention to it, or a red, so you know which color to be looking at. And it's not saying price will come down all the way from there, but usually they'll bounce or resist off those lines, and that helps you to understand price behavior. Okay, so that's something we'll look at, and I'm going to go back down to the weekly chart, see if I missed anything. I might want to draw those flats here as a support, but they haven't really reacted to price, so they could come up later on, but they could also not come up at all. Here's some other ones to look for on the weekly chart. This swing here, so we're going to draw that out, and it doesn't need to be that thick. We can change it to a thickness of maybe 1 or 2, so I'm paying attention to it, and just make sure your lines are level. Okay, so now that we have those cores drawn, let's draw some more things. Let's go back down to the daily chart, and then we'll break it down all the way to the 4-hour chart. Okay, the next lines that I'm going to draw for you are the parabolics that I see. I see a pattern here. I kind of see this going on, so I'm going to draw that with those tops here, 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 here. Those lines, and I'm going to draw them like I see it. So I'm going to take a curve tool in my settings, and I'm going to make the line far and balanced. Okay. So what I'm trying to do is make sure this line looks like it's in harmony. It should be making sense. Okay, the line shouldn't be like curved like that or like, wonky. It should look balanced. It should look natural. So this line should look like, really natural. And I'm really right now just focusing on those lines. See how I kind of hit those lines right there? And what that did is now I focus on what's going on over here in this section. And this is telling me that this is resistance. Okay, so this is a natural behavior. When price had came up to this area, we bounced off and rejected. Now, if we reject off of that line, that tells us that this line can become a support. If we ever come back up on top and we come back down to that line, it could go higher. But if we actually already looked and saw what happened in this areas, I drew this already as a green area. Okay, this is here. We don't need to have all this past information. We have it here. And if you draw it at this area, what did we see? Price went up, tried to come down, came to this green area, and came right back up. You see that, team? Okay. So I just have it on here as part of the short cut because it is a cut of the parabolic. And when I have it as a parabolic, we may not draw it like, this color, but I know it's going to act like some kind of support. You can also draw it like a blue support if you would like. Okay. Next we're going to draw the major targets of all, and this is fairly easy to do. Make sure your settings are on logarithmic, And I found a new tool to help make this very, very easy. And what we're going to do, okay, is we're going to take the overall trends, and I'm going to take it down here, and I'm going to attach and connect the bottom swings here. See? Now you can do it one of two ways. You can collect that here and just connect those dots and make sure that they're pretty accurate. You know, as general as you can, because you're going to be getting out a little bit sooner or later, you know, than if you're buying and selling, you're never going to want to be 100% exact. But now we're going to click on that line, click on the three dots, and then we're going to click on settings, and then we're going to click on extend line right, that one. And then that just projects the line into the future. So now you have that line, and it's ready to go for when you're drawing on price. And here's the easiest tool that I found to use this technique, okay? And I'm giving it to you. These are part of my secrets. Here you go. Click on that tool, and then click on your parallel channel. And here you go. Now you can just, you're gonna cover the major swings in between these. And there's one, this is the highest swing up here, and that's the one you're gonna wanna cover if you're doing wick to wick, or if you're doing core points to core points, and we're gonna cover both. Okay, so first we're gonna start anywhere on that line. We're gonna draw a line on that line, and then follow it along the path, about as far as we need to go up. So let's just do it far enough, right about right there, and then you click on the line once, and then you're gonna lift your finger, and then you can stretch this out. Okay, and we can stretch it out until the top of the screen. Oops. And you want to click on that the middle dot, and we're gonna drag it over to this point here. So again, here, you take the line, duplicate it, move your finger up, and put it at the top of the swings. And that's all there is to it for that. Now there's another point you'll do it, and that's the core angle, and we'll also draw that, and it's going to give us these most important lines, okay? So what is the core points? Well, make sure the weekly, it's easier to draw these on a weekly chart when doing the core points, because you're taking the root of the move, and that's the most important. So if I was drawing that for you, I would draw it here. So about right there. And you can take this line and you can delete it because we don't need it anymore. Okay, but now this new one, we'll just draw it yellow so you can tell the difference. And then we're going to do the same exact thing we just did. So go to your tool section, come over here to your parallel channel. We're going to come anywhere in the middle. Going to draw the line out. And then we're going to tap once. We're going to move our finger all the way up to, oops. We're going to move that middle section all the way up, this time to the core point. What is the core point? This is the core point right there. Okay. Now, now you have these lines, and these are going to give you the most important lines that you're going to need. They're also going to give you important ranges. So what we can do is we can take these lines, and I'll go ahead and draw this ones, and these are being conservative. Now, this ones I don't need to extend all the way to the right, so I don't always extend those. They get in the way. Then I'm going to take another trend line, and I'm going to draw it in the middle section here, and I'm going to draw it out. We're going to draw this dashed, make this thin, and then I'm just going to, and then we're going to take these and use them as supports, and we're going to draw them green. So I'm just kind of drawing over these lines that I just drew. The cores, I never do dash. Okay, so this core line now is ready to be deleted. Yep. Yeah, I think it is. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and delete that now. And delete. And this one is not supposed to be dashed, and we'll draw that green, make it a little thick, like a level 2 or level 3, because it is on the weekly chart. And there we go. So we have our first major lines. Hey, this yellow should not be here. It should be deleted. Yeah, we don't need that yellow. Okay, and now we have our 3 main lines on here. So now we have 3 major points. And I'll draw that as resistance. So what we can do is we now have the upper extremities of these two lines. So we're going to move the white up to around price. So if price hit this today, because these lines are moving upwards, it's dynamic. So if price were to skyrocket today, it would hit it at 6.68 cents. If it hit it like next week, it'd be 80 cents, okay? Or 90 cents, depending on how long. So this is why we have moving targets. So if you're ever concerned, you can remember to just check weekly on my website. Here's the website at the bottom, www.patreon.com/jsong7. I'll give you these type of drawings and analysis on many cryptos that you'll have. And I update the charts throughout the week. Okay, now we have another one. Let's clone this and put the current prices right now are 59.29. Okay, so here we go, 59.29 and 0.684 cents on ETN if you're being very extreme. Now to get up to there, we would have to have some hurdles to go through, but those are how you get those extremities. And then also I can give you guys these lower supports, but really they're not going to come into play until it's time later on. Okay, so I'm not really drawing these at the moment, but if price were to fall at this very hour or this very day, it would fall to approximately there. So I'll change that border to that. All right, got it. So now you have all these points, and we can shrink this and minimize that as they become more important later on. So right now, they're not as important. I'm going to shrink them down. Now, before we can now analyze what is price doing, we still need to go over a few different points and a few different things, and then we know some things to be expecting. If price is reacting primarily to the dashed one, like if it was to hard close, then that means there's strength in these wicks. So if price were to not be able to close above those wicks, like hitting that or got trapped in there, then we would be really paying attention to this line. However, if price comes and either sits on top of these lines like it's important, or is having a major reaction to those, then we know that we need to pay attention to the cores. Okay, I know this is a lot that I'm covering, but we're going to go over this kind of quickly. Let's go back to a daily chart, and I'll show you a little bit more what I mean. So price right here is primarily reacting to the wicks on the daily chart. It barely went above the core. I'm sorry, to the core. It barely went above the core on those lines. And so that means that we may be wanting to more focus on the core levels. So if we were having a target, we might want to be more conservative and go to 0.532 as a target if we were breaking above these lines. Okay, but we need to see what else is going on here. There's more to the story because price is reacting to many lines, and there's a story being told. Let's look into some more of the lines. So there's a couple of lines we can draw, and I'm going to just give them to you in brief. We're going to draw this one. Okay, we're going to draw this one. We're going to draw this one. Okay, so let's draw those lines right now and see what we see with price. So first, draw here. Okay, so this is going to be dashed because I'm drawing wicks. Let's draw another line. From the wick. There we go. So we have that ready to go as a support. And we won't really draw that one also as the core because it's basically the same. See, those wicks are really small, so I'm not worried about that. And then we're going to have a third one that may come into play later on using these swings. So let's swing it out there, and we're going to draw that really thin because it's not that important. We can also even fade those lines by fading them away until they become more and more important later on, which you'll see me often do so that my lines are not so cluttered and we're not so, having our minds melded when you look at a lot of stuff. Now we haven't begun to draw the sword cuts yet, but we need to draw some. So let's draw some. We're going to take these wicks, draw them, where price cuts, and that is cut here. So we'll take our rectangle tool, price cut there, and what did we see? We see price sat down on top of that. Okay, because so we'll just leave this blue, but we can draw it blue or green if it supports, or neutral. If it's just a general sword cut, we'll just draw it orange. Okay. So price was really reacting well to those wicks, and that if and whatever those key points, we look at those, and those can become other key points here. And this one would be a level point right here. The swing right there. So because that's part of that, we're going to actually take this and make it white. Okay, so we know it can act as a support, and the support is over here. But let's extend it out because it may come back into the future sometime. We can also take on these scores and cut them, and where we cut them, we can draw that, and that's how we get this green area right here. Okay, and that would act like a support. So what this tells us is that price can really play. And so now a story is unfolding. What price can do, you'll see it reacting a lot to these lines very accurately. As you guys have seen by following me, if you're new to my channel, or you've been watching my post in my community public room page, or if you've been following my lines on my website, you'll see these type of analysis. And that's where you can get them. Membership does start at just $1, so you guys can join for any dollar amount, a donation of any dollar amount. You can pay for what you think the having this type of data or access or my eyes behind your charts is worth to you. So we do have many cryptos. I'll take a look. All right, so if you'll join my website, you can use that to communicate with me directly. You can comment right underneath one of my charts. You can see I do post lots of charts throughout the week. Okay. ETN, comedic, here's another ETN, ADA, and then you can always go to my charts. Right here, you can come and you can type in a chart that you may be looking at. So if you're looking at XRP, you can type it in right there, and it will show up a list. It'll show up a list of XRP charts. And you can click on the page, and you can see my analysis, and you can see what commentary I have and what things I'm expecting for price, and even indicators to do, along with possible options. You'll see those there. I try to make it as simple as possible with just little arrows and what I think is going to happen for updated price targets. And you'll see these updated and what these different charts mean. You'll be able to see important updates and comments that I have on different charts. And you can also ask me questions here, right here. But let's get back to the charts. So we now have major moves, but what about the upcoming moves? Well, it's important to draw what we see, the most important patterns. And one thing I see here is this pattern, this one, and this one. They're all in a straight line. And when that stands out to me, we can draw that line. If you take your parallel channel tool and you continue that out, you can do the same thing. This time, make sure it's not faded away. And we can always adjust the settings and give it some different colors. So we can change the middle, just say this one to the blue, and this one, because this acts like a phantom, you can also draw that as a phantom. But you cannot differentiate which colors are which. So sometimes it's better for you just to draw on top of those lines, so your charts are not being cluttered up too much, and just draw right on top of them. This is a phantom line, so I'm going to draw it in the phantom color of this light blue. So when you see those, usually that's a phantom line. Normally, now these lines are invisible to the human eyes, but if you draw them, you can see them, and you'll know where they're at and where they are to be expected. This is not a phantom, so it's just going to be a resistance, so we'll draw that there. Different lines mean different things in my method. And this phantom I'll draw as a dashed line. Okay, so now I have my channel with my projected phantoms, and this gives me a lot of information. But we're not done. Let's draw a little bit more. Because we had major swings here and here, and here, we're going to draw those, we're going to draw some of those swings. We're going to draw these swings together and see if it also gave us any data. If I take a trend line, let's just draw one. And if I only have one important line that's important, I may be drawing that like thick yellow, just to bring it to my attention. Okay, like maybe a size 3. And what I'm doing is I'm just connecting only this one and that one for right now, because these have some important data. It may not look like it, but you can see some things that happened and occurred on these charts. First of all, this line is not as accurate as I should if I'm drawing wick to wick. That's more better. And if I was drawing core to core, it would look even more different. Here and the core here. Good. All right, so now we have some important points, and now we have some good reference points from which we can interpret price data. Let's look now at a 4-hour chart. All right. So what things did we see? What things do we see? Well, there's a few things. First, I want to go back to the daily chart. I realized that core line was not correct. This is more correct. See how it's more on the center of these, and then they're on the center of these core points? That's how you want to draw them. So this gives me a range. And if we go back to the 4-hour chart, we can see something very interesting. So price fell through these lines and reacted pretty well to them. You can click on visual order to send some of your lines to the back, or send it front. And then when you tap on your screen, it should show up behind. If it still is too much, you can always fade the line away. But to bring some context, we see price coming through here and having a hard time breaking through. It did for a little bit, and you can see it sitting on it and came back and bounced on it. So it's acknowledging these lines, and in some ways, it's reinforcing them and making it only stronger. But this gives us some very important information. It tells us that these lines can come up again in the future. And sure enough, they did. Again, on this 4-hour chart, this is something I was looking at yesterday when I was acknowledging and I entered into a trade with ETN on a 4-hour chart. I noticed that price was acting really, acknowledging these lines very well, and it was sitting on top of it. So that was very bullish. It broke up and got pushed back when it hit this upper line, when it hit this area, but then we bounced on that blue area, which is the area we had known about. And then when I saw us sitting on this 4-hour area on the 4-hour chart, I knew that price should be going up, and we should be going up to approximately here at 330. So yesterday on my Patreon website, I had posted that I believe that price is going to be going up to those levels. And I myself, I couldn't enter the trade at that moment. I got in just a little bit late. A few hours later, I actually had to open an account at KuCoin because I couldn't trade ETN with my current exchange, BitTrue, which I really like and use them, but they don't have ETN. So I opened an account somewhere else, transferred some of my cryptos there, and exchanged those for some ETN, which were in a nice profit this morning. Seeing this type of behavior tells me that price is pretty bullish at this moment. Now it's possible we can come down to some very important points, but overall, I think we're acting very bullish. Now, take into account how many support lines we have on these areas and prices on top of them. That tells me that we have lots of safety nets for price to bounce and come up here. Now, if I was examining price, and I took a picture of it here, I would see that price has lots of different supports at various levels, along with horizontal lines. I like to see price climbing through these so that if price were to ever come down or encounter some trouble, we have many supports, and that gives us plenty of time to react. It's when price is in these zones where there's not much there that price can experience what we call the markup. When price is in these no-go zones, price moves generally quickly through them. As you can see, price can move very fast through them. But also, if we have enough reasons and evidence to buy that I like, I may take the trade, or if I have any other external reasons. But at the moment, this is based purely just on my data. At any rate, this is where I entered the price of ETN. Actually, I got in a little bit late, but that's when I posted my notification, and I really think we're getting up to 30.0330. I'll be exiting my trade there. Later on, I'll maybe examine to see if we can get up to these higher points, but I'll leave those for my chart room, and you guys can always see my analysis when I post more about ETN. Anyway, I want to tell you guys thank you very much for watching today, and thank you for all my Patreon members. Thank you for everyone in the community room. Remember, you can join us on our community room on Telegram. And remember, the link to the Telegram room is right here in the description box. Always just click on description and you can find us there. And you can join a community of people. We have almost 700 members in the Telegram community group chat where you can message and ask a lot of questions of each other and talk about different cryptos and different things. And even here, an enlightened spiritual message. We have great admins in the room and a great team of people. So I want to let you guys know that. Also, you can follow my charts right here on patreon.com/jsong_7. And I'll see you guys in my next video or in the chart room. Take care.